Welcome to the Toyota MR2 and Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. We're going to be talking about old vehicles, whether it's a classic muscle car or an old classic JDM vehicle. Let's talk about what it's like owning one of these old vehicles. Should you do it? Should you pull the trigger on getting an older vehicle? Well, there's some things you should definitely know about. This just got back yet again from the mechanics. This has been mostly out of service for the last 3-4 years. And well, we've put close to $20,000 into it. So let's talk about that. What's it like owning an older vehicle? What will you probably run into? And at the end of the day, is it all worth it? Well, let's put the pedal to the metal. Let's jump in and check this thing out. Let's talk about all the pros, all the cons, the comfort, the acceleration, the sound, the uniqueness. You got something really special, but you're gonna have something that's probably gonna cause you a lot of problems. So let's talk all about that. All the highs, all the lows, all the joy, and well, this blood, sweat, and tears. So let's jump in. Thank you so much for joining. Please, before we get officially started, hit that like button, subscribe, and if you don't turn bell notifications on after subscribing, you'll probably never be recommended this material again. So help us out, help this small family business feed and dress those poodles with turning the bell notifications on and subscribing. Thank you so much. Now let's get right to it. Now, something to keep in mind with these vehicles in particular, or really any older vehicle that you're going to do some light modification, thinking you're putting more air into the engine bay, this is actually counterproductive, because this does push air into the engine bay, but an engine bay needs to let the air out. How these vehicles are built is that air gets scooped up underneath the vehicle and vented out the top. Having air pushing down into the engine bay partially cancels out that air, scooped up air from the bottom that's supposed to flow through the engine and come out the hood vents. This is also true for a vehicle that's got hood vents up in the front. So a little counterproductive. We're leaving them on. A lot of people have thought that the reason the engines were blowing were purely because of the engine. Now, we strongly believe that that had a lot to do with temperatures. So a lot of MR2 owners will actually throw fans in after throwing in these scoops. But I'll tell you something that most classic car owners forget is doing regular maintenance. They figure because you only drive maybe 1,000 to 5,000 miles per year, that you don't need to do oil changes as regularly, that you don't need to swap out that intercooler, the radiator fluid every 5 years. You still do, folks. This has gone through 3 engines on radiator fluid that dated back to 2007. So it was running hot, and it's not just because these older vehicles run hot and there's nothing that you can do about it. What you can do is a lot of maintenance, and really keep in mind, a lot of maintenance means batteries, gaskets, making sure you're not leaking oil. Radiator fluid will guck up and become completely useless. People will often drop it from the radiator itself, but then not clean out what's in the engine, or in the case of a Toyota MR2, the intercooler up front, you need to drop and clean the radiator fluid out of that. So the stuff that was in there and the piping all the way to the back engine was extremely disgusting and definitely needed to be swapped out. So stay on top of regular maintenance. Ignore the maintenance in regards to how many kilometers and start thinking about how many months or years, and stay on top of it. You know, timing belts, for example, they can say that they're good for 100,000 kilometers or 60,000 or 80,000 miles. Don't wait that long. It's rubber. After 5-7 years, swap it out so you don't blow your engine. Something to really keep in mind, folks, to make the owning experience of these vehicles much more tolerable, because I can tell you, I've owned this thing over maybe a total of 10 years, and I've had it functioning for about 3 of those 10 years, and that, folks, hurts quite a bit. Oh, as you can see, older sports cars and muscle cars won't give you the type of handling that you can expect from a modern sports vehicle. As you can see from these train tracks, the suspensions on these classic vehicles are either usually really hard and rough, or really loosey-goosey. But the driving experience is truly unique because these vehicles in general are so much lighter than modern vehicles because they don't have all that added tech, all that reinforced security with all the extra airbags, and you're really in control of the vehicle. You don't have this special technology to make you a good driver. You need to be a good driver, and you're in contact with the road. You control the road. It's unique. But you can also do things to the exhaust systems that you can usually get away with, that you, well, unless you're in California, but you can usually get away with that you won't get away with on modern sports cars. Test out a few bumps. Pretty tolerable. A lot of the convertibles or old T-tops will leak. They will stain your seats, as they've done to the new seats here, new used seats. And well, that's just the case whether you're looking at an old Mustang, Trans Am, Camaro, whatever T-top or convertible you're looking at. Do consider that you're probably going to have to put money into the top. For example, the Porsche 911s we have, it's about $5,000 to change the tops due to the 10 to 12 hours of work to put in. I just got to say that one major benefit of older, well, the Toyota MR2 in particular, but generally most older vehicles, they are much lighter than today's sports cars. The fact that this is light makes the horsepower so much more powerful, how you feel it, and it makes the vehicle so much more fun to drive. This is an absolute blast to drive. It is a complete riot. I love it. Highly recommend it if you're willing to deal with all the inconveniences we have been talking about. It's a zippy go-kart with how light it is. It's an absolute blast, and that's why I recommend it if you've got the money, not just for the vehicle, but for the repairs, the maintenance, and the time that all that entails. Fantastic. Absolutely, absolutely fantastic. If you only have the money for the vehicle and you won't have money for repairs, don't hope that you won't run into any. It won't be an enjoyable experience. You won't enjoy having the vehicle. Even with having the money available, it's taken 2 years to really sort out all the problems with this vehicle. 2-3 years. But I am definitely really enjoying it now, and it's almost worth all the money I've put into it. Had the motor not blown, it'd have been worth the money put into it. Now I've gone over budget for sure, but I'm also, hey, it's all about miles per gallon, and now I can finally start using it to start putting some miles and smiles on for all that cheddar, the dinero, the dollars, the loonies that we've put into it, folks. So take care. Hope this content finds you well. I hope it helps you out, and I hope you can help us out by dropping some comments down. Share some of what you've learned being around older vehicles. Take care, folks.